Thank you for having Wayne and I firstly here today to be able to discuss our military service. One of the two people in my life that made me realise that maybe the service was for me was my father's father, who firstly was a first boy in the English Navy. He was at Gallipoli and I got to meet him. He came back a pretty broken man. The second person was my mum's father, who was with the Light Horse, and he also came back, but I wasn't born when he died, so sadly I didn't get to see him, but I heard many stories, and they were the two main people in my life that made me realise that I wanted to join the Defence Force.
My story is totally opposite to Kerry's. Mine had no interest in joining the Defence Force, but I knew I wasn't going to live in country New South Wales for the rest of my life, and I always thought I was what's on the other side of the hill factor for me. So, and when I did join the Defence Force for that period of time, and it was quite a long time, I always had this feeling that it was my father that was the influence. He served in the Royal Australian Regiment at the Battle of Cap Yong with the 3rd Battalion, and I later on served with that unit as part of my career, but I always thought it was Dad. And then I reflected back not long after, actually when I was giving the eulogy at my mother's funeral, and I realised that in fact it was Mum. And she told me a couple of years prior to that she'd always harboured this burning desire and a secret passion to become a member of the Defence Force. So she obviously decided that she couldn't go, so she sent her eldest. So that was always my thought was Dad. But then I reflected the time when I was about to leave to go join the army down at the railway station just out of Lithgow. And Dad was saying, "Oh yeah, all the best, you know, take care, this will be good for you, and don't volunteer for anything." Well, I volunteered for everything. But then I reflected upon something my mum said to me. She just gave me this big hug. She was a bit of a huggy person, just said, "Look, this will be the making of you." And that's when I realised that it was Mum and not really Dad.
For me now, as a veteran, married to a veteran, and being a mother and also a nan, it is about still recognising and respecting, but reflecting on the people that have given us what we've got now.
It's celebration, it's honouring, it's remembering people and their sacrifices. I mean, so many people, so many men and women and animals, and all the aspects that come around Anzac Day. I think it's just that real, wow, if they didn't do what they did, where would we be now? And I think that's the thing for me as an ex-serving member and as an Australian citizen. I'm very proud to have that heritage, and I think that's something that we should all be proud of. And I think that's what it means to me. It's a very, very special day in the year for me. And there's only one occasion that I actually sit down and have a certain repast to celebrate my dad, and that's only on Anzac Day. But it's about honouring their memories and thanking them.
I will have a bit of a prayer and reflect on both my grandfathers, my auntie and uncle who were in the RAF, one of my soldiers who passed away, I remember her, and also remembering what our children have had to do for us as well. Getting up at the crack of dawn, coming to every service, having to move every 3 years to move and everywhere, and I want to thank them for what they've done. They're the superheroes too. So.
Amen to that. I think the freedom is appreciated. I think there's no doubting that at all. And I think realistically in these uncertain times, I think even more so that freedom to make those choices, to do what you want to do or don't want to do on Anzac Day. There's a classic example. You know, there's a lot of talk about what we should do to honour this extraordinary Anzac Day. Your right to make that choice has been earned by you, by others. You can honour that right any way you want to. And I think that's, for me, that's what it is. It's about the freedom of choice. Don't ever think for a moment that that's something that you were born with. That was hard fought for and won. And I guess that's the thing for me.
Education, I think, is really, really important. Prior to coming here today, I rang my daughter to tell her that I was being interviewed, and in the background I could hear the last post, and it was part of my granddaughter's homework for her to actually listen to the last post and to write a story about it. So I would never like to see the Anzac spirit be lost to the next generations. I think it's really, really important to ensure that our children, grandchildren and the future can continue to, always continue to actually talk about it. And I think next year will even be bigger and better, because the plan will be that everyone will be able to get together and celebrate life.